So this is the spreadsheet that's going to help you. Now, I know that some of you hate spreadsheets, and I want to just reassure you that I'm going to walk you step by step so that it just feels like normal. It's not something that's so difficult. So when you open it up, it's going to start on this page that says why. Now, there is a link over here that you can click on to see the video on why I believe that budgets don't work and why I believe that planning or forecasting and tracking is the answer. And the real thing that it comes down to is the fact that a budget usually gives you one number that you're supposed to stick to every single month, but that real life never works in a straight line. Our months are always have different amounts of expenses every single month, and so you either feel like rock star because you are beating your budget in the month or you're blowing it. And that then leads to us not sticking to it. We need something that we can stick to. And the absolute best way to do that is to use your past actual information to start helping you forecast or plan your future and to start getting a grip of how the money flows differently in each month. So the reason why we're doing this is so that we can build a strong foundation on which to build our house. And I talk about that all in the video. We want to build financial freedom, but in order to build it, we need more income than expenses so that we can start to invest for the future. And most importantly, start to feel in control of our money so that we can have stress-free money. So these are the steps to complete. Now, again, I'd like us to just focus on why we're doing this. We are doing this so that we can better understand our past spending in order to plan our future spending. So the first thing that you need to do is to get 6 to 12 months of expenses. Now, for some of you, that's going to be very hard and you can only get 3. But then at least start building this thing up. Use the past 3 months to predict the next 3 months. But if you can get 6 months, it's better. Now, I've created a video on how you download your expenses. So go and look at that video. And once you have your expenses, the next thing is to enter them on the spreadsheet and categorize them. So that's where you go to your actuals. Now, this is what it's going to look like, all zipped up together. And the great thing about this tool is that you can start to work it at chunk by chunk. The first thing you're going to do is say what month you're starting with. So if it's October today and you've got 3 months and you're going to start in July, then you want to put it in July. So let's click on July. Then you'll see it starts in July. So you don't have to try and start in the middle of anywhere. It can start wherever you want it to start. So we've got July. Now, then what we need to do is start with our income. So we need to say, okay, is our income more than our expenses? Now, use these little minus and plus signs to show you what the information is. The second most important thing that you'll see here is this difference between repeating and variable. If our money was easy to predict, if it was the same amount every single month, we would never feel stress. So it's very clear to understand what is repeating, what is the baseline of stuff that we need to know about, and then what is variable. So you will see that if you have income and you're paid pre-tax, you need to put in your income and then your tax, and so that you can be able to understand how much you're paying, how much you're actually earning, and how much is going towards tax, and then cost to generate income. If you're paid after tax, so if you're an employee and you get the same amount of money every single month, then you get to work on, you can just put your after-tax income there. For those of you that are self-employed, and you need to provide for tax, put income tax, and then any cost to generate income. And that might be just a summary of those business expenses that you yourself pay for. So my person earns a salary over here of 50,000. And you'll see that if you fill in these repeating ones, you just have to fill in one number and it goes all the way through to the rest of the page. Now, in January, she got a salary increase and it became 55,000 Rand. And so from then onwards, it just makes the next one's 55,000 Rand. The other thing that happens is that in January, she gets a bonus and her bonus is 15,000. So effectively what this does is for repeating these darker gray blocks to repeat. If you just put in one number, it then fills out everything. Now, you will see here that these categories mimic the way that we think about our money, which we went through in the last video. And so at the bottom is needs, children, save, etc. And so we are going to come here to the actuals, and we're going to start with the money, with the things at the bottom. Now, as I said, when you download your expenses, it's going to be all over the place. So you can go step by step just to make sure that you tick off every single, that you've got everything, or you can do it by categories if you've got it by categories. So we're going to start on debt, and I have, so I've pressed the expand thing so I can see what's going on. And my person doesn't pay regularly towards their credit card. They've paid in different amounts. Now, I'm able to do one of two things. Either I can input the numbers, so I know that she's put 1,500 towards her debt in July, and then 1,000 in August, and then September was a difficult month, so didn't put anything in, and then went 2,000 over here. So I literally put the number in and then press the cross arrow to get it to move to the next thing. Or alternatively, because she's downloaded all of the information into a spreadsheet, I can then just copy it there and paste it in, and it just pastes it all in. Then, so on average, she's putting about 1,333 towards debt, but in practice, it's different every single month. And then the other thing is that she has a clothing account that she is paying back, and that she has been paying a straight amount of money every single month, and that money is 420. So that's how we do and complete this. Then in savings and investments, my person is investing, is putting away every single month. She's putting away 300 Rand to an emergency account at the moment. And she is currently only investing in her tax-free investment account, and she's doing the maximum there. So that's how we do the investing. My person doesn't have children, so if you want to have children, there's all the things for fees and all that kind of stuff for children. So we go on to needs and basic needs. Now, needs section is the biggest because it kind of is the biggest. And it has food up here, and then it has housing, all the things to do with housing, all the things to do with car, fuel, transport, and all the things to do medical, then banking and other insurance and other. So in this one, these purple sections sum up everything. You don't have to do it. So if you've done it all in your own spreadsheet and you have a total for housing, you can just overwrite the formula and just put the total in. But we're going to go through step by step on this actual, on the actuals of this. So when it comes to food, it's pretty variable. In July, it was low at 2,859. In August, they had a few people over, so it was 2,982. And then it went lower in September, but October was 3,942. And then it started to build 4,800 in November, and December with all of the holidays, it was a biggie. January with all the holidays also, it was not as big, but it was still a big one. And then February went down to kind of end of the month or recovery for all of that. And then getting more with Easter, May, and then June was a low one again at 2,900. So on average, my person spends for basic foods and groceries 3,800. So the rent or mortgage is easy. That one is a repeating number of 6,842, that in January there was a rental increase that went up to 7,200. And then for the rest of the stuff, 950 is for complex fees and security. Rates, water and electricity was variable every single month. So let me put that in. Home insurance is the same because they're renting. There isn't much on the home insurance. And then maintenance is pretty much consistent over here. Decoration, the helper is Wi-Fi, cell phone is the same every month, and then they have a few variable costs in the home in the other section over there. When it comes to transport, they have fuel is variable every month. Car repayments 3,200. Road tax, tolls and fines, depending on where they went, was 1,000 here. For again, car insurance is monthly of 1,005. Maintenance is variable. Other costs on the car were over here. Last thing, medical. The health insurance is 32, and it went up in January to 4,368. Pharmacy is variable. Okay, or alternative practitioner costs that once a month. Banking fees are 420 Rand a month, and there's no other kind of needs. So those are the basic needs. So what we can do is just make those smaller so we can look at the needs all together over here. So you can see that the needs on average are 28,000 Rand a month, of which, if we look at the repeating, 19,000 are basically every single month and 9,000 are variable. So then let's go to the wants over here. We'll be that out. There we go. A little bit of wants. And wants are expenses now that I'll want in the future. 220 Rand for kind of Showmax and all of those good things. Entertainment costs that are variable each month. And activities out are different every single month. And October was bigger. November with all the Christmas stuff. December was a big month. January was also quite big. January, well, not that much. May, that's April, sorry, May, June. There we go. And then we have clothing. Not big on clothing here. And then arts and sports membership. There's a gym membership. The gym memberships over here. Entertainment-y things. I think those are braces or something. And then beauty and hygiene over here. No pets. Gifts. The spenders, I think, are being included in the other thing, so they weren't little spenders amounts. That sometimes I do cash and things for cash. Okay, so we've got wants. We now need our explores up here. And these are things like vacations, bucket lists. For some people, for me, exploring is anything that makes my soul happy. So for some people, that's yoga retreats. For some people, it's studying. For some people, it's bucket list things. So there are different kind of things for every person. In vacations, and June was a small little day trip. They took a bucket list journey in July, and then learning is a big thing in this family. So there's a little bit more in kind of learning live, and then there is I think a retreat. So yeah, so that's works out to about 7,000 rand a month is going to explore. In terms of give, people who are supporting family are definitely giving. So some people think giving is just to faith or causes, but many people are supporting parents or children or something like that. So this particular couple pays for the medical aid of one of the parents, and then does 1,000 rand a month to a faith cause. So that's that. So now what we have is we have all of the actuals from a year. So let's just zip it all up. So you have all and you can see that this then creates a summary of all of the actuals over here. So all of the actuals, that's what we've done over here. And the income is 53,750, and the expenses are 51. So there's 2,423 rand a month spare. But what you'll actually see over here is this is the income that came in, and then obviously had the salary increase in January. But in January, there was also the bonus. So effectively, if you remove the bonus, let's go and delete the bonus on the income, that 15,000, delete. Then if you go into the summary, you'll see that in actual fact that gap is a little smaller because if there was no bonus. So let's put that back in, the 15,000. And so as you go into kind of looking at this, this gives you a shape. And you see nobody's expenses are ever the same every single month. So the next step is to look forward and see what is going to happen, or plan what is going to happen for our money going forward into the future, because that's what we want to do. We want to change our money that's coming. And so this plan and track sheet is what we're going to be looking at. Now, when you look at it, it's filled with numbers. Don't worry. The best way to predict the future, or to have a starting place from which to predict the future, is what we've spent already. So when we come to this actuals, if we go up here, you'll see that there's a note, and the note says, you must forecast for repeating values. The forecasting sheet assumes your variable expenses, so the ones that come in and go and don't come regularly, will be the same as last year, but your repeating values you can budget to take into consideration annual increases and subscriptions. So what does that mean? Well, we know that things that are monthly payments that we make go up every single year, annual increases. So let's go and look at, for example, our rental mortgage. Now, over here, our rent went from 6,842 up to 7,200. Now, what this sheet does is that it says, okay, what is the average of this? Or not the average, what was this number last year? And it takes that number to be the starting place. But we know that it went up from 6,842 to 7,200. So we need to say we don't want the 6,842. We now want the new number for next year to be 7,200. So let's do it methodically, and let's start from the bottom, which is our debt. So when we look at our debt, our person had debt starting at the beginning of the year, but has been paying it down and now has finished paying off this debt. So what our plan and track sheet says is it looks and it goes, well, listen, actually, it was all variable. So the past predicts the future, so you're going to still pay it off. But we know that's not the case. So we just put our little line there and we press delete. And then all of that's gone. Now, will the person still be paying $420 a month? So currently, yes, they will. But I'd like to educate them that they shouldn't have this clothing account. But until they agree to get rid of it, I'm going to still keep it in as a monthly payment. So we've done that. Now let's go and check out savings and investments. So they had 300 for an emergency fund and 3,000 for tax-free investments, and that they are still going to keep that until we agree a plan to change until we give a plan to change that. Then that's going to be fine. That we'll keep that in place. And now let's look at children. They didn't have children, so we don't need to worry about that. Let's look at needs. So needs is the big one, and we start there with plan and track summary in needs. Okay, so let's go to our actuals and let's see, do we think that they're still going to have this kind of shape, and are they going to make any changes? Well, until I'm kind of with them or prove different, I kind of think I would still keep this shape. It's not very flat and smooth every single month. It's very different. So I'd still keep that shape. Then the rent or mortgage, we said that we'd want that to be at 7,200. This complex fees and security is 950. Now, the lady tells me that that's going to go up to 1,000. She doesn't know when, but she'd rather work on 1,000 going forward. So let's work that as 1,000. Rates, water and electricity still seems to be very all over the place, so let's keep that. The 424 home insurance, that will probably go up, so let's work on 450. The maintenance, those 2 months that were different, she says that she would rather just budget. She doesn't know if it's going to be those 2 months. She'd rather budget on a higher number of, say, 500 Rand a month. So let's look, instead of putting it down there, let's look up here at 500 Rand a month. But then what we need to do is go back to the sheet and say, oh, okay, actually, we don't want to work on 500 Rand a month. The other place that you can just amend the stuff is here. So we don't want to work on 500. We want to work on 500 Rand a month, but we're not going to need this variable amount. So let's delete this variable amount and we'll work on 500 Rand a month. Decorations and improvements. She says that she's not planning on doing any of these other stuff over here. So again, let's just work on 500 Rand a month. So we can delete those. Then home help at 980, she's giving the person a raise to 1,200. So let's just change that there to be 1,200. You could also go and change it on the actual sheet over here, home help, and change that to be 1,200. And then it would have brought it through. And Wi-Fi 382, let's work on 400 for going forward, so that she can get to see. And she says these other things aren't going to come through. So let's delete them off. Okay. So then let's do over here, the entertainment. The 220 is going to go up to 240. So let's change that to 240. The variable, I think let's keep it the same. The meals out, she says that she is going to do the same. Might look a bit different, but let's keep that there. Clothes, same. Sports membership is going to go up to 770. This variable stuff, keep in place. The rest, beauty and hygiene, the rest she says just keep in place. So let's work on that. Let's look at explore. The bucket trip that they took last year, they're not taking it this year. So we can delete out this. But what she did say to me is that she'd like to start saving for the bucket list trip for the next time. So she'd like to put 2,000 Rand a month away for their next bucket list trip, which I think is good planning. And the rest, she said, is pretty much going to stay the same. Learning, she doesn't plan on doing this learning, that thing. So, but she doesn't know what she wants to do. So she'd rather put in 500 Rand a month now, set that aside for learning. And then give is the same. The medical aid's going up to 2,700. And because of that, she just wants to drop the faith down to 800. Okay, and that's how you budget. So it's all kind of there and easy to do. Now what happens is we look at this and we go, okay, let's reduce it. We look at this and she says, okay, she's got 51,000 of of income and only 47,000 of expenses. The one thing she did want us to do is to take out, she thinks that the bonus isn't going to be 15,000 this month, and she'd rather look at having a smaller bonus. So she said, let's work on 10,000 this month. So this 10,000 Rand a month, what she wants to do is when that comes in, she wants to, because there's a little bit of space in between that, what she wants to do is she wants to put 5,000 of it into invest. So we said, okay, let's put another 5,000 here into her investments, but she's going to do it as a once-off in that same month. So that month is up there, January. So she is going to put 5,000 of that 10,000 into her investment account. So now you'll see that there's 50,000 on average and 48,000 is being used. So she said the other thing that she wanted to do is build up more of an emergency fund. So we go back to savings and investments, and she's going to take that up to 1,000 a month for building up an emergency fund. So that brings us to, you can see it's summing up all of those ones, and it brings us to 48,000. So for now, that's all we're going to do. Now a normal budget shows you just this amount, so which is the average per month. But we know that our expenses don't work like that. So you'll see that there's another little line which starts to come through over here, which is around this monthly variance to average. And average is how most people normally budget. Now, if you say, okay, this person on average should be saving 4,417, but is only saving 1,300, you're going to say, keep saying, but you're saving less than what you should do. Now, that's not a problem because we've got this once-off thing over here. So in this particular case, I would leave it exactly as is. You don't need to do anything. You know that when the money comes, you've got to save half. But let's look at needs. When we look at this monthly variance to average, what we see, let's just squish this. So what we see is that on average, the basic needs of this house cost 28,731. But not every month is the same. This one, she's going to have overspent by 185 Rand. This month, she's going to have underspent by 2,667. So if this is a normal budget as such, you're going to beat yourself up for going over in these 2 months and think that you're brilliant this month and you've got 2,600 Rand to spare. But you don't have 2,600 Rand to spare. What we need to do is we need to start making sure that, because we can see that there are going to be some tough months ahead, that in the months where there is where we're not spending as much, we are making sure that we save a minimum of 2,666, so that when this month of 3,887 overcomes, we don't have to beat ourselves up. Why? Because we have that money in place. And I call that cash flow smoothers. And and your cash flow is your income and your expenses. So if your income isn't smooth, you need an income smoother. And if your expenses aren't smooth, you need an expense smoother. And all an expense smoother actually is one or more savings accounts that you save for goals. So over here, because you can see going forward, there are going to be some months where it's over and then these months where it's under. You need to start saving that money so that you have it for the next month. And we have many different expense smoothers. We have ones for holidays because we know that we've got to save through the year for holidays. We've got ones for general. We've got ones for the kids. We've got one for medical. We've got a goal save account that saves for our next car. So we always are putting money aside so that when we need them in these expensive months, we're not feeling the stress. And as I look in terms of this person and we look at the stuff, you'll see that of the 28,000, 20,000 is repeating. That is not going to cause any stress because we know it comes and we know it goes. It's the variable lines that you need to look at. And in those variable lines, when we open it up, we need to scan for them and say, okay, food is always going to be a variable. Now, that's one that we're going to have to watch quite carefully, so that in the months where we are below the average of 3,800, so these months, we are then going to have to save because we know they're going to be months over. What other variable costs monthly accounts? This one, rates, water and electricity. Again, you need to be very disciplined to save when it's going. But this road tax, which is effectively toll roads, what she needs to do is make sure that after this big expense, she's saving every single month 171 Rand, so that when she needs it and needs that next 1,000 Rand, she already has that saved away. So that's what this variance over here is, to try and help guide you when it is that you should be saving money into those little savings accounts to try and smooth your money. So that especially happens when it comes to Explore. So you need to, so as we said that we changed this, instead of the big 30,000 to be 2,000 Rand a month, she's saving up for a holiday. But that's the same over here. She needs to put 2,550 Rand every single month aside, so that when she needs the money for her holidays, it's there and available. You cannot try and suddenly come up with 22,000 Rand in September, October. It just doesn't work. So friends, let's recap. The first thing you've got to do is get your expenses, then enter them into your spreadsheet and categorize them. Then reflect on them. As you start to look at what you can change, and as you look at it, do not judge yourself. Just make sure that you are mindful of kind of how you're thinking about your money. You can only change your money when you change the way you think. Then think about what can you change, what needs to change, what do you know is going up, etc. And then go line by line and decide what you should spend each month. Then do that forecast. And then lastly, what you need to do is, as soon as you go, as soon as each month passes, every month spend at least an hour to book it out in your diary to go through and put your actuals in for the month. And literally all I do is overwrite the numbers. I use a different color. For me personally, I use a red. So I would then go and put all of these numbers in and just change the color to red as my actual numbers. And then start to, because I now know this month has passed and I know what's happening better in these months, I then start changing the forecast to make sure I know that I'm going to make it to the end of the month. And then I just keep rolling the spreadsheet, copying the spreadsheet into the next year, and then just keep doing the exact same thing. Every single month, as I get more information, I go, oh my goodness, we're also going to be going away here in December. I'm going to need 3,500 Rand for December. Then I know that that's coming up. So I keep rolling forecast every single month so that you can better predict, better save. Make sure that you save the 3,000 Rand in this month where you're not going to, because you're going to need it coming forward. So smooth out your money so that when you have these months where things are worse, you're able to then know that you need to do something in the months that are good to prepare for them. Take care, good luck, and have a great day.